Welcome back to Main Street, the Craig L. Hayes Show.
Hello, America, family, friends, listeners all around the planet we call home. We're back at Main Street for episode number 2 with Ken Pace, and we're going to carry on, and he's going to keep on telling us a little bit of the story of his life and what all he's done throughout his. How old are you? About 89 or 90 or 100 or something? No, you're not that old. No.
Well, sometimes I feel like I'm 100.
Yeah, it doesn't take
but,
much.
but I'm 80 years old.
Yeah, you're 80. So, no. So, anyways, sorry. Go ahead and carry on with the Ken Pace story.
Well, I'm carrying on with the illustrious Craig Hayes podcast. We love Craig. Everybody loves Craig. Anyway, I'm gonna go and talk a little bit about my military. Okay, I came back from my mission in 1966, and of course, first thing I go back to the University of Utah, and I had a student deferment, and I was in ROTC. I'd taken ROTC in high school, but I was now an ROTC at the University of Utah, supposedly to become, an officer, second lieutenant, first lieutenant on up. And when I was a junior, I'd taken it for a couple of years at university. But when I was a junior, the seniors ahead of me, there were about 50 of them, maybe a little more than 50, that had graduated, and every one of them got the 3 branches of artillery, infantry, and armor. Every one of them went to Vietnam. Many of them got killed. And I thought, you know what? If I could get out of this, I would. It wasn't that I didn't, I love America, but I was into politics pretty heavy at the time, and I wasn't really thrilled about the Vietnam War for the reasons why they had it.
Nope.
And I wasn't like a big agitator or protester, but I just internally just felt it was wrong. And so what happened is they had an opening at the airport for the Army Reserve, and they had applicants, and they had, I think, 300 people apply, and I think only about maybe 12 or 15 of us got it because I had some military experience. I was fortunate enough to be accepted into the Army Reserve out of the Salt Lake Airport. And so
Okay, what did you do out there? At the airport. Army Reserve at the airport. That sounds kind of different. So
it's really crazy because when I took my my test for the Army Reserve out there, they said, "Oh, Mr. Pace," he said, "you're really strong in mechanical skills, and I'd never worked on a car in my life, put gas in and check the oil once in a while, because I was in the meat business growing up with my father. I didn't know anything about mechanical, but I scored real high on that. So what they did is I went to basic again. When I was in ROTC in college, I went to basic at Fort Benning, Georgia. By the way, I was the #1 battalion trainee out of 2,000 men there, and during graduation day, I got to sit up on the stand about 12, 15 feet away from General MacArthur. Yeah, when I was
really.
yeah.
Wow,
That's because I was quick. I could run fast and do all the grenade throws, the buddy things, and all that stuff. So anyway, I was really good at the military. But so when I got into the reserves, I had to go through basic again, just starting all over from scratch. But I did it, and then I went to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, for that one. It's really fun. I got to tell you about Fort Bragg. When I was there at Fort Bragg, here I'm a brand new soldier going through basic, but I'd had a lot of experience because of ROTC and everything, ROTC, ROTC.
Yep.
And so this one day, this real tall black drill sergeant, whose name happened to be Pace, P-A-C-E, he looked at me and he said, "Hey, why have you got 2 undershirts on?" I said, "Well, one is a religious garment, sir, and one is a T-shirt." He says, "Get down and give me 50. He didn't like me having 2 undershirts on. And I want to go back a little bit. His name was Pace. My forefathers landed in Jamestown, Georgia, 1609. We fought in the Confederate side of the war, or my Pace side of the family. And we had slaves, and that's how they got the name Pace. They took their owner's name. So, kind of crazy story.
it's not impossible, but would it be interesting to be able to trace his lineage back and see if he was actually, part of your family's, Was it the plantation you guys had back then? with your
Yeah.
family? Okay.
Yeah, it was, yeah, 1609. In fact, there's a place in Georgia called Paces Pains. Paces Pains, Paines.
Okay.
And there's a story, and it's not just a story, it's for real. One of the men named John Pace is like 16 something, 1610 or 20 back there. He was a friend of the Indians, and one of the Indian braves told him that the Indians were going to attack the Jamestown people and kill as many as they could. And so he let the people know that was going to happen. And so they credit John Pace with being friends with an Indian to avoid that disaster. It's another story, but anyway.
Yeah. No, it's a
So
good
back
one.
to my military. So then, because of my mechanical quote skills, I was then sent to Fort Eustis, Virginia, where I worked on Lycoming jet engines. And I guess I was pretty good at it because we learned all the things about magnetos and you name it, all the things you have to do to have an engine. So a lot of these helicopters we work on, the Lycoming engines were the ones that were put in the helicopters. And some of these helicopters had come back from Vietnam that were all trashed up, but they just needed to be refurbished. And so we'd work on the engines. And one thing they told us, they said, you better do a good job because when you get done making the engine back together, you're going flying. So we were very careful, make sure all the
That's called incentive.
more incentives.
Yeah, it's like you better do it right because
Yes, drill sergeant.
how can you or be able to flap your arms like a wing and fly
Yeah.
away? That's interesting.
Well,
though.
we were all safe, of course, because we had very good instructors that kind of like double checked everything we did. But we learned a lot in that class. And the other thing is, I learned later in life that that the average life of a helicopter pilot is 7 years because all it takes is one little $3 bolt come undone on a rotary or something. They don't have any gliding. They just collapse down straight down. If you're in a fixed wing aircraft, you can glide and maybe hit a tree and not die. You might get hurt, but you're not going to die. But in the helicopter, you're just like a free fall, boom. That's it.
Yeah, there's there's no hit this button, wings will appear and take you down. No, that's not going to happen. Yeah, I love helicopters, but I don't know if I'd ever go riding one. They're just, to me, it's scary just thinking about that. But anyways,
Well, okay, now I'm going to continue on with my life story, but there's a helicopter story in that one too.
good.
But anyway, so now when I was in the Army Reserve out there, I met a good friend named Gary Kehl, Kehl, and he wanted to start a carpeting business, where you install carpet and sell it.
Uh-huh.
And so I had the money, and because I was in the stock market, that's another story. But we got together and we started a company, and we called it Western Carpet World. So I was like, what year was that? 1975, I think it was. For about 5 years, I sold carpet, and Gary and I actually installed a lot of carpet. We had 20 different sets of different carpet layers that could do it. We had a pretty big business going. But that was an interesting part of my life. But then in 1980, I had told you I was a temple worker in Salt Lake Temple from 78, 79, and 80. But in 1980, my friend, and I had been in the stock market for quite a few years, trading penny stocks in the Salt Lake market. And through that, I met a man named Tom Dillon who worked out of Spokane, Washington. He had a company called Dillon Securities. And I had left the market and got into the business with Gary Kehl doing carpeting. Well, in 1979, when Ayatollah took the hostages in Iran, things got really hairy with the gold and silver market. And in Spokane, it's called the Metals Exchange. It was called the Spokane Stock Exchange, and where they traded gold and silver stocks and some oil stocks too. But I had left the market for 5 years to do the carpet business. So in Christmas time in 1979, Tom Dillon called me up. We were still good friends. We used to race dirt bikes together and stuff. But anyway, he called me as a pacer. I don't care what you're doing. I'll basically say, get your ass up here. I need a trader right now. He said, the market's going crazy. So I told Gary I'm going to go up to Spokane, and he agreed that it was a good idea for me. So I landed in Spokane on January 16th, 1980. Hadn't been in the market for about 5 years. I sat down at the desk, and just do it, Pace, just go for it. The market was so hot. That's when silver had gone from like $4 up to $50 an ounce.
That was from the Hunt Brothers, right, or something, one of those groups?
Yeah, the Hunt Brothers.
I remember those guys.
Yeah. Well, I got up there in January. The first 2 weeks, from January 16th till the end of that month, I had grossed over $20,000 just trading stocks. I knew how to do it. It's like, I'm not real good with names. I remember your name, Craig. I knew you're Craig, right? But I was always good with numbers. Numbers have stuck in my head all my life. I remember phone numbers. I remember all these numbers.
And repeat again what year this was?
Oh, it was 1980. January 1980.
1980. 20,000 was a good chunk of change.
Oh, yeah.
That was worth some real money. That was
1980, you could buy a real nice house for 50 grand. You know,
Yeah.
real nice house.
so 20,000 that you made in how long?
2 weeks.
You were making some serious bank.
Oh, why not trade? I mean, things were going absolutely crazy, and like I say, it was Tom Dillon's company. It's called Dillon Securities, but we were good friends. And I'll go back sometime and tell you about. We used to race dirt bikes and stuff together, but we were real good friends. And when I got up there in 1980, I think we had like maybe 10 or 12 girls, or I shouldn't say girls, but workers in the back office. And then Tom and I were trading, and all day long we were so busy because people would call us because we were kind of the biggest market maker in the metals market back in Spokane. There were the other brokers, but they weren't as active as we were. Tom had a real good reputation, and we were busy people. We traded stocks with all these big companies, all the Merrill Lynch and Dean Witters and you name it, Troster Singer, a lot of big companies back there that all call us. And we got to be really good friends with these people over the phone so that we'd get first call. When you get first call in the market, you know what's going on. You got a feel for it. So Tom and I made a lot of money. We were so busy the first 6 months of that year that Tom got so tired that now it was June of 1980. We had made so much money between January and June. We had made over a couple $1 million gross. We had expenses, phone and stuff, but we made over $2 million gross for the first 6 months.
Wow.
And he said, Pace, he said, I got to take a break. He said, I'm going to Arizona. One of my friends died. I want to go to his funeral. I'm going to be gone for about a month. He says, you're in charge of it. He said, just don't lose the firm. I said, well, I'm not going to lose the firm, So I sat there. I'm the only trader. That month, while he was gone, I was trading his stocks, and I was like, you divvy up stocks.
Mm-hmm.
That month while he was gone, I made in his account $157,000. And when he came back, he said, well, are we still open? I said, well, I think so. And he said, well, how'd you do? I said, well, on your stocks, I said, I made $157,000 in your stocks. And I said, over $200,000 in mine. It's just the market's hot. Thanks for going, So anyway, I have to tell you a story about that too. So, and that was in June. So July, we had bought this stock. It was called Temple. It was a silver stock. Anyway, I think it was called Temple. Yeah, it was called Temple Mountain, a silver stock, and we bought it from Baish, B-A-C-H. Yeah, Baish, a big brokerage house back east. We bought 10,000 shares of Temple Mountain, and they sent it to us. But there are two Temple Mountains. One is called Temple Mountain of Delaware, and one is Temple Mountain of Nevada. The Nevada stock was at the time trading for $4.05, $4.62.5 per share, and they sent us that stock instead of the Delaware stock, which was worth about maybe 10 cents a share. 100,000 shares of that stock was worth maybe 10 grand. They sent us a stock from the Temple Mountain, Nevada, incorporated in Nevada, and it was worth 100,000 shares was worth $465,000. Okay, and Tom Dillon told me what happened. He said, "I see this stock," and I said, "Yeah." And he said, "You know, this is Temple Mountain of Nevada, not Delaware, Corporation of Delaware." He says, "What do you want to do?" I said, "Well," I said, "our licenses are worth more than $1 million." I said, "Send it back and tell them that they sent us the wrong stock, you know." And he shook my hand. He said, "That's the answer I wanted to hear, Pace. You'll always be my, you know, my companion." Because yeah, we could have split $200,000 each and say, you know, just sorry, you know. But we did the right thing, you know. I mean, I'll be honest with you, there's not a lot of honest brokers in the world that would have done that. But it's just like Tom and I both had morals, you know. We had plenty of money. We weren't worried about trying to make $200,000 each on the side, you know, just for some stupid mistake back east. But
What was what did they do? What Temple Mountain? What did they do in Nevada? What was their?
they were silver mined.
Oh, Silver Mountain. Okay,
Yeah, they were
gotcha.
silver mines. I
Okay.
think it was up on the Ely, somewhere up in the Ely area, northern Nevada.
Okay.
But
So it was still a silver stock.
yeah, it was
all-
a silver
okay.
stock. But
All right.
yeah, the one we actually bought was it was a Delaware Corp, only worth maybe 10 grand. But they sent us the wrong stock, and we sent it back and everything. But anyway, at the end of that year, Tom was he was the president of Dillon Securities, and he made me the CEO, that's chief executive officer of Dillon. And when we started up there, I told you we had maybe 12 or 15 young ladies in the back that were doing all the paperwork, and there were just 2 of us traders. But by the time 1980 was over, we had grown. We had over 400 brokers in 7 states. And we were big time. We grossed over $8 million. We grossed in that 1 year. Yeah, it was amazing, unbelievable year. You know, it's like it got to the point where in a bad month you make 15 or 20 grand. In a good month you make $150,000. You know, it was just unbelievable. And so here I'm going to church up there when I had time. I was so busy, but I got to know this family in the ward up in Spokane. It was I don't remember their names right now, but it was a real good man. He had a wife. They had 10 children, and he was a washing machine repairman. Well, you don't make a lot of money repairing washing machines in 1980, you know. So on this side, I bought a stock for him. I knew it was called Ewing Oil. I named the name. There's a new IPO, initial public offering stock. It came out 10 cents, and I bought 100,000 shares in his name, sold it for 30 cents, so he had a big profit, and I sent it to him, and he said, he called me up the phone and said, "Brother Pace," he said, "I think there's been a mistake here." I said, "What are you talking about?" I knew what he was talking about. He said, "What?" I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Well, it says I made some money on a stock I never even bought." I said, "Oh," I said, "I just bought that for you because I knew it was a good deal, and that'll help your family out." So he made a nice chunk. It's like,
Wow.
I'm not saying that in a bragging way. I'm saying it very humbly. It's like I saw this wonderful family struggling. The kids were not dressed well. They didn't have, their cars were stupid. I mean, old cars, clunky cars. And it's like, you know what? His daughter got to go to BYU. They got to dress better. And it's like, it was just something you just do, you know. I
was
say
nice
that
of you.
humbly. I just
Oh,
say that
nice.
humbly. I'm not trying to brag. I'm just saying, I was in a position where it was so easy to make that kind of money. And I saw him struggling with 10 kids,
Oh, wow.
you know, making washing machine repairs. It's like, it's really, he used to drive to Montana to you know, I mean, it's really sad anyway. Well, anyway, now I want to talk about some sports, okay? I mentioned earlier that Tom Dillon and I used to race dirt bikes. We did. Did we ever race dirt bikes? That's how we kind of met, too, through the stock market and racing bikes. We've been down to Baja, California together, Gunnison, Utah, in the sand dunes, and up in Spokane, we used to race bikes a lot. And then when winter came, oh, let me tell you what, we got into snowmobiles. Snowmobiles, it happened to be my favorite sport because I love motorcycles, and I grew up in Salt Lake skiing. So when you get a snowmobile, it's kind of like a cross between a motorcycle and a snowmobile. I mean, a motorcycle and a skiing.
Yep.
It turned out to be my very favorite sport of all. We had these big Yamaha VMAX that were so fast. We used to go over to Idaho, and well, you know, Spokane's right on the border of Idaho, so we'd drive into Idaho where they had some real good mountains and stuff, and we were going so fast. They had this one a abandoned runway that was just flat out and straight. We used to do 110 miles an hour on our snowmobiles going across that, just having fun, you know. It was really crazy. But yeah, Tom and I became real good friends.
Yes,
Snowmobiles.
my brother, he had snowmobiles and stuff, you know, years back, and he said one day he's going to do it again. That was his favorite, was take his snowmobile out into the snow and just not be a maniac, because he's never been a real maniac speed demon and stuff like
Yeah.
that, but just he loves riding in the snow, you know, riding a snowmobile in the snow.
Oh.
It's
It's one of the craziest sports ever. Besides the going fast, I mean, there were times where we were on these steep hills where you had to balance yourself on the top edge of the snowmobile so you don't slide down, because once you slide down way down, you're talking like way down there. It's really hard to get back up, you know. So we were pretty good. Well, we were good athletes. Tom and I were both really good athletes, and he was a lot bigger than me. He was like 6'2", you know, work out. He was a real husky guy. Well, I was
kind of like me, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but he had muscles, Craig.
He didn't have a keg, huh?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have one until just years ago, so. It's fun. We got about 5 minutes left on this episode. Anything you want to say in the next 5 minutes? And
Oh, yeah. Okay. Now, going back to, we talked about helicopters.
Yeah.
Tom Dillon loved to fly. He took lessons in helicopter stuff. So we actually bought a company helicopter. It's just a little 2-seater, looked like a mosquito thing, you know, like 2-seater. But we used to fly around together, and it was so loud, you know, it's like a motorcycle in the sky. They're so noisy that you can't verbally talk to each other.
yeah,
Just back and forth. You have to have a headset and push a little button on the floor and say, how you doing, Tom, or whatever. You cannot talk verbally just to each other. You have to use headsets. That's how noisy it is. Well, anyway, Tom and I used to fly around, and so we'd have the doors off, of course. We'd go around to feed the ducks, bud out to the ducks, you know, in the ponds and stuff, you know. And one time we flew from Spokane to Salt Lake City, Utah in the helicopter to go see my parents and visit.
that's a long
And on the
flight,
way down
actually.
there, it was a long trip. We had fun. We were talking, you know, through the headsets and stuff. Well, we were getting really low on gas, so we landed in a little place outside of Utah. It wasn't Tooele, but somewhere close to that, maybe Grantsville, because we had to land for gas. We weren't going to make it all the way to Salt Lake. So we landed, and this guy came out and said, "What do you need?" "We need some gas." And so we got filled up, but we had to make kind of an emergency landing, find a spot where you could get some gas, you know, but that was a crazy trip. By the way, when we were doing this helicopter stuff, I had 3 boys in Spokane. Well, I had them in Salt Lake, but they were up there. I had Aaron, Tommy, and Michael. They were little kids. And we'd take them for rides in the helicopter with the doors off and having seatbelts on, you know, and we'd fly over their schools and have them so they could wave to their friends, you know, be big shots, you know.
Yep.
That's my dad, you know.
Isn't that fun?
Well, we
That's
had a
so
lot of fun with
man.
the helicopter, yeah.
You know, when you have a few extra dollars, you can do a few extra things and just, you know, bring some happiness to people.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They can enjoy themselves, and you know,
Yeah.
and obviously you understood that very well. Just not afraid to.
Oh, yeah. I've had a lot of fun in my life. Sometimes too much fun, Craigo.
Well, that too does happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything else, real quick? While I find this, I got to find the outro on this thing here.
Oh, there's so many fun stories about everything. No, we're going to continue, I'm sure, but I have so many blessings in my life. I've been so blessed with so many things, Craig. I'm not kidding you. It's unbelievable.
Well, good. Well, that brings us to the end of episode number 2, and we'll be back in just a minute with episode number 3.
Thank you for listening to Main Street, the Craig L. Hayes Show.